What if I told you the reason Netflix's One Piece didn't crash and burn like other live-action anime wasn't just budget or cast? It was a three-way romance between Oda, short-form social media, and a very particular kind of restraint. Welcome to Unboxd Origins. I'm Howie, your resident science geek and accidental trivia sponge.
And I'm Wyatt. I ask the big questions. Sometimes philosophical, often skeptical, always curious.
Today, we're digging into how did Netflix's One Piece break the live-action anime curse? Okay, timeline goggles on. For years, Hollywood's attempts to turn beloved anime into live-action felt cursed. Plot holes, weird casting choices, badly aged CGI, and crucially, a failure to understand why fans loved the originals. Death Note and Ghost in the Shell became cautionary tales, while other projects like Cowboy Bebop stumbled out of the gate despite big names and big budgets. Enter Netflix's One Piece, a high-stakes experiment. Translate over 25 years of serialized manga and decades of anime tone into a live-action series meant for a global audience that includes die-hard fans and curious newcomers. The first critical milestone was securing Eiichiro Oda's involvement. Oda didn't just slap on an executive producer credit. He served as an executive producer with final approval on scripts, designs, and key creative decisions. That's not paperwork theater. It changed the decision-making model. Instead of a studio executive writing a shopping list of changes, the creative team had to align with the source's authorial intent. That kept the soul of One Piece intact, even when logistics forced the show to compress or reinterpret certain sequences. Production choices were another big milestone. The Netflix series embraced practical effects mixed with targeted CGI, rather than go full digital spectacle. Luffy's rubbery physics had to be believable in a human actor, so they relied on in-camera stunts, clever rigging, and visual cues that suggested elasticity without turning the character into a cartoon. Casting moves were a viral lightning strike. Iñaki Godoy as Luffy was a near-instant sensation, not because he looked exactly like the manga, but because his energy matched Luffy's heart, goofy, ferocious, and irresistibly sincere. The rest of the core crew were cast with the same ethos, actors who could embody the manga's emotional beats and physical comedy. Netflix also chose the East Blue storyline, the origin arc, a smart structural decision. It's compact, character-driven, and builds the crew dynamic quickly, which fits streaming's binge-friendly architecture. Those early episodes up front had to do the heavy lifting of introducing a sprawling world, while still functioning as a satisfying season. And then there was marketing. Not the old billboard and trailer approach, but a social-first blitz that treated TikTok like a cultural incubator. Short, highly shareable moments were seeded. A laugh, a stunt, a costume reveal. The sort of single-frame moments that TikTok's algorithm loves. Fans, influencers, and creators then remixed those moments into 15 to 30-second clips. Cosplays, reaction videos, reaction and explain videos, and even meta-commentary that appealed to people who never read the manga. Netflix leaned into that, releasing clips and letting the community build momentum. The result was a virtuous cycle. Viral clips brought mainstream viewers. Mainstream views validated the show in press and awards coverage, and fandom acceptance reduced the usual online backlash that kills word of mouth. In short, Netflix treated the show as a cultural event crafted for participatory media rather than just a product to be advertised.
Aha! Here's the part most pundits missed. Success wasn't about being slavishly faithful or wildly reinventing the source. It was about translating authorial intent into live-action storytelling constraints. Oda's involvement didn't create a fan service straitjacket. It gave the production a North Star. With that compass, creators could say, we can't literally do this panel for panel, but we can preserve the emotional logic, pacing, and character beats. That's the overlooked inversion. Fidelity not as imitation, but as fidelity to purpose. Fans feel betrayed when changes are made for convenience. They celebrate changes that preserve what the original sought to make them feel. That subtle difference is why a fight scene that was short in the manga can be expanded for live action without enraging fans. And why certain flamboyant costume choices can be toned down to read better on screen. The aha is that Oda's creative approvals created creative freedom.
Another overlooked factor, cultural timing. One Piece arrived when anime and manga were no longer niche in the West. The streaming era built a global fandom hungry for adaptation and critique. People who grew up on Naruto, One Piece, and other shonen stories are now cultural producers. They cosplay, they edit, they podcast, they make memes. That grassroots creative economy meant the show didn't need to win everyone's hearts from scratch. It only needed to signal authenticity, and then let the community do the rest. Plus, Netflix's global reach and data-driven release strategy allowed them to monitor real-time reception. Clips that performed well were amplified. Tepid moments were re-edited for promos. That responsiveness drove momentum in a way old-school theatrical marketing could not. Finally, the show leaned into a different kind of restraint: emotional truth. Live action doesn't benefit from trying to recreate anime elasticity shot for shot. It benefits from delivering the emotional payoffs that made readers care. So, when Luffy declares, "I'm going to be king of the pirates," the line lands because the actor's micro-expressions and the scene's framing deliver stakes in a human register. The wardrobe and world building were stylized but grounded, signaling that this is derived from anime but exists in its own cinematic logic. And crucially, the production respected fan critique and public discourse. When something misfired, the conversations that followed were constructive rather than totalizing condemnation. Partially because the show's social rollout foregrounded the people who loved it as partners in a cultural conversation. That collaborative vibe changed the narrative arc from another failed adaptation to event television.
Aha! And there's another twist. TikTok didn't just market the show, it reshaped what successful live action looks like. The platform rewards moments that evoke immediate, shareable emotion, rather than long-form exposition. One Piece's team deliberately crafted moments: a gum-stretching gag, a goofy grin, a perfectly timed drop of a line, knowing that these micro-moments would be remixed into millions of short bursts across the internet. That turned marketing into communal play. Fans reconstructed episodes out of clips, and those reconstructions became hooks for new viewers. So the show's success is partly social engineering, not in a manipulative sense, but in designing content that thrives in participatory networks. That's a modern production principle. Make scenes that are excellent TV and simultaneously excellent TikTok fodder.
Put it all together: authorial stewardship, strategic casting, practical effects, and emotional fidelity. A smart arc selection, and an ecosystem-aware marketing strategy, and you get a show that sidestepped the common traps. It didn't try to be a carbon copy of the anime. It didn't flatten the characters into caricature. It didn't treat fandom as an obstacle to be placated. Instead, it worked with fandom as a collaborator, gave the production team real constraints and true north guidance from the creator, and used modern platforms to create cultural momentum rather than a single weekend box office gamble.
So, why does this matter? Adaptations are not just about transposition of plot, they're case studies in cultural translation. One Piece shows that the curse of live-action anime can be broken when production respects authorial intent and audience participation, and when they adapt to the medium rather than attempting carbon copies. It's less about technological mastery and more about humility and honesty in storytelling. That's a lesson for creators beyond anime. When you adapt, don't ask, "How do we do everything the same?" Ask, "What made people feel this way, and how can we evoke that in a different language?"
It also matters because the stakes are industry-wide. Netflix's success turned One Piece into a proof of concept for how to shepherd beloved IP into the streaming age without immediate cultural self-immolation. Season 2 hype isn't just about more sword fights or bigger ships. It's about whether the team can maintain the authorial partnership, keep listening to fandom, and continue crafting those viral, emotionally honest moments that organize modern attention. If you enjoyed this deep dive, like, subscribe, and share with someone who still thinks live-action anime is dead in the water.
So, did Netflix's One Piece break the curse by being perfect, or by being thoughtful, collaborative, and built for the age of short attention spans? Either way, It proves that sometimes the best way to adapt a fantasy is to treat it like a promise. Keep the heart, respect the rules, and let the world play along. And that's the same question we started with. How did Netflix's One Piece break the live-action anime curse?